How's it going, guys? Patrick here, back with a brand new video. This is going to be kind of a mini discussion video. And this video is going to be all about Star Fox, the future of Star Fox. Will Star Fox rise up and take its rightful place in the Nintendo world? This topic, is Star Fox dead, is something that I've been planning to do for a while now. Of course, with all my E3 coverage and pre-speculation videos about E3, I really didn't have time. And I think now, especially since E3 is come and gone, I really feel that I have some free time to kind of go into depth about this topic. So today we're going to talk about pretty much where Star Fox is at and how it's going currently. You know, this is one of Nintendo's older franchises. Started on the SNES. One of my favorite franchises, if not my favorite Nintendo IPs currently. I just like how different it is. And it's kind of interesting because Star Fox really isn't rivaled. You know, you look at the other platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, there's not really any games like Star Fox. The whole on-the-rails genre is kind of dying. I mean, in the 90s, I remember a lot of arcade games. On-the-rail shooters were some of the most popular genres in the arcades. And I remember, you know, playing games like Ghost Squad and, you know, House of the Dead. And I loved those games, and Star Fox was just a natural fit for me, I think because of that. My first exposure with Star Fox was Star Fox 64. I'm not too old, so that was my first exposure, and I loved that game. I beat that game several times. I still go back at least once a year and play that game because it's just such a fun game. N64 is probably my favorite console of all time. That's probably one of my favorite games of all time. So, yeah, I always go back and revisit it. So, you know, I have followed Star Fox throughout its entire life. You know, I played Star Fox 64. I played Star Fox Assault. I played Star Fox Adventures, which is, you know, debatable whether that's a legit Star Fox game or not. I played Star Fox 3D, Star Fox 64 3D on the 3DS, and of course Star Fox Zero on the Wii U. And I even played the Star Fox Guard kind of mini game that came with Star Fox Zero. I've enjoyed them all. You know, Star Fox Adventures is a very different kind of game. For those of you who don't know, that game was actually supposed to be Dinosaur Planet. So it was supposed to be kind of another 3D platforming game when that genre was big. But the development team for that actually had a fox as the main character. And Nintendo didn't really like that too much. And so they just kind of slapped on Star Fox, made a few adjustments. And because of that, that game sold a lot better probably than what it would have been. But that game is really talked about in a negative fashion usually. Star Fox Assault on the GameCube. One of my favorite Star Foxes of all time, to be honest. I love the multiplayer aspect of that game. Really, really fun. If you guys haven't tried it, pick up a copy. I mean, I've seen that copy for the GameCube go it's pretty expensive. I've seen it in this, last time I saw it in the store, like a retro store, it was like $40, which is pretty much the price that I've seen it at. I've seen it, you know, at a couple flea markets and stuff, but it's still around $30 to $35, but it is well worth the price. That game is really, really cool. The new aspect that they kind of introduced with that is you can actually get out of your R-Wing. There are several missions that you can kind of walk around. So that game is really cool. Of course, the multiplayer shines. The couch kind of co-op multiplayer. I really love that game. Star Fox Zero, though, on the Wii U, that's, I think, where all the controversy came from. That's actually one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game on the Wii U in general. I really do like Splatoon, obviously, Super Mario Maker. I really love those two games. But Star Fox Zero is probably, you know what? I think it's probably my favorite kind of action-adventure game on the Wii U. It's really cool because there's not a lot of games that you have to play a lot to get good at. I feel like a lot of games nowadays are kind of pick up and play. You know, Call of Duty, everyone can pick up and play Call of Duty. Not that you're going to be good, but you can still play and do the main functions of the game. Whereas a game like Star Fox Zero was really, really focused on, okay, here's the controls. You can't change what the controls are. You better learn this game. And that's pretty much my experience with it. I started playing the game. I picked it up day one. The game, when I first started playing it, obviously visually it looked incredible. To be back in Corneria just felt like N64 days. And the controls at first were pretty difficult for me. For those of you who don't know, when you play Star Fox Zero, you have to use the gamepad, okay? That's the only control option you have. Now, when you're holding the gamepad in front of you, the screen on the gamepad is actually a zoomed-in kind of reticle view. So, to precisely aim and to precisely shoot things, you have to look at the gamepad. Now, the above screen is your R-Wing. So you actually control your R-Wing with the joysticks like any other game, but there's a constant need for you to look at the gamepad, look back at the TV, look at the gamepad, look at the, it's an unnatural way to play video games. I think that's the struggle with it. But once you actually get the feel of it, it's a really, really great game. You have to train yourself to play this game, but once you get the hang of, okay, I can look at the top screen, fly over to the enemy, then look at the screen and, precisely aim. It's a really rewarding experience. And for those of you who haven't played that game, I suggest picking it up. It's relatively cheap. Usually the bundle comes with Star Fox Guard, which I'm not going to talk about too much, but it's a pretty good strategy game that I think that many of you would enjoy. And that's kind of where Star Fox is left off. And I kind of blame the early Nintendo ambassadors for the demise of this game. I have strong feelings towards Nintendo giving out review copies to the kind of the brand ambassadors, the YouTubers, the big time YouTubers. I don't support it, and here's why. If you look at any review, let's just take ARMS for example. ARMS just came out literally like yesterday. There was already ARMS reviews like 3 weeks ago. And a lot of these reviews, I love game reviews. It's one of my favorite videos to look at on YouTube. That's actually how I started using YouTube. But if you go on and see any of the ARMS reviews by the early Nintendo ambassadors, these are weeks ago, you will see that in the reviews, all of the reviewers are kind of like, well, I haven't played this game enough, but I'm assuming, they're not playing the game fully in reviewing these games. So initially, we're getting full video game reviews that will be on YouTube for years and years to come, pretty much about all of these reviewers' first impressions with the game. I never have agreed with giving review copies early to the brand ambassadors. I realize that it promotes the game. A lot of people get their news from YouTubers directly. I know a few of you might even get all of your video game news from me. I highly doubt it because there's a ton of people on YouTube. Whatever people say in their reviews, people usually intend to believe. And I think that Star Fox Zero, that was the demise because every single YouTuber, it's actually really hard to find a good review on Star Fox Zero without them mentioning all of the flaws. I mean, I know that that's what game reviews are for, but I've seen, I think, 10 reviews on Star Fox Zero, and pretty much all of them, I think 9 of them, were negative. And it always starts with the controls. The controls, I must admit, I want them to release kind of a different control option for Star Fox. For that game in particular, I think that game would have done a lot better. I'm not saying that the motion controls being forced on us was a good thing, but I don't think that you should judge a game based solely on that fact, especially if the controls work well. It's not like the gyro motion controls did not work well. They did. You just had to play the game long enough to actually learn them. So that's kind of my biggest gripe. I've always had a problem with early reviewers putting out reviews weeks in advance and really not even going in depth with much of the game at all, just kind of the first few hours of the game. That really irritates me. But going back to Star Fox in general, I think that this video game franchise is in a little more trouble than we think. If you look at the last 2 releases of Star Fox, you have Star Fox 64 3D and Star Fox Zero for the Wii U. Essentially the same game as Star Fox 64. They called Star Fox Zero a reimagining of Star Fox 64. That's not good news. I mean, I personally feel like they have run out of ideas for Star Fox. Thank God for Super Smash Bros. Because that's probably the only reason why Star Fox is even still relevant. And luckily, he's such a popular character in that game because the relevance of on-the-rail shooters and Star Fox in general is diminishing quite a bit. I've even got a lot of people commenting like, "What's up with your username on YouTube? Like, why is it a Star Fox username?" I love the game. I love the franchise. I love on-the-rail shooters, and especially this one because it's a Nintendo-owned property. It's a fantastic game. I've enjoyed pretty much every single Star Fox game that I've played. It worries me though. I must say, like, is Star Fox done? Is this a dead franchise? Will he only be a Super Smash Bros. Character? You know, there are a lot of nods to him in Mario Kart, like you can scan in your amiibo. Star Fox is still relevant, but really his games aren't. I think the short-term kind of solution to this problem is I would really welcome a Star Fox Zero remaster for the Nintendo Switch. I know I'm kind of getting sick of all the remasters, but this game deserves a remaster. If the controls are the only thing that is wrong with the game, re-release it on the Switch. A lot of people would want to play it. A lot of people that I talk to would gladly buy the game if the controls were switched. No pun intended. So yeah, that's kind of just my feelings on Star Fox. Do I think it's dead? No. I think that Star Fox is a popular enough character where Nintendo will eventually do something else with him. They really got to be careful though with the next game because, you know, especially with the forced controls in the last game, they really need to kind of reimagine this series without taking the on-the-rails kind of core that makes this game so unique. But I'm not too worried about Star Fox kind of staying relevant, but it's just something to think about, and I thought that you guys I wanted to get you guys thinking as well because, you know, like I said, I'm always going to support Star Fox, and no one can ever take it away from me. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening. This is Patrick from RWingAttack. I hope you enjoyed this little discussion. So yeah, guys, have a nice day. Please hit subscribe if you like this content. Give this video a like. Give it a share. Thank you very much.